Hi, Nima. I hope I'm saying that name right, Nima. I apologize if I'm not. I got your question on the Udemy student page for the Q&A page. You asked a question, one question, if I use all lights in light map baking and don't delete my light sources after baking, how can I be sure Unity is not calculating pre-calculated shadows all over again for light map static objects? Shall I run Profiler? I trust Unity, but I just want to check. I just wanted to check its impact on performance. So, great question. In actuality, when you set your lights to baked instead of real time, they're no longer calculated in your scene. And I just wanted to run you through a very simple scene real quick here to demonstrate that. I've got a wall, I've got 4 blocks, a ground plane. Right now, these objects are not set to light map static, so obviously when you're going to do light map baking, you have to do a setting of light map static for each object. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So set those. And then we have auto bake. We have the auto render option selected here. Okay, so that's baked out now. We have a real-time GI calculation going on in the scene. So you're baking out maps, not real-time GI, because you want to boost your performance, maybe for a mobile game of some kind. And you want to make sure that your lights aren't calculating even after they've been baked. Okay, so now that we have our scene set to light map static, let's go ahead and take a look at our lights. Let's go ahead and select those. Right now they're all set to real-time. Let's go ahead and set them to baked. I'm going to compute that again. Alright, so now it's done. We have a light map bake. If we look at our light maps, we can see there they are. There's our information. And you can tell that you're no longer calculating in real time with these lights. You'll notice that if I select these lights and then go ahead and turn them off, you'll notice, oops, that was a bad demonstration. This is an important thing. When you're doing light map baking, and you get a good bake, make sure you turn off the auto option. So once you have that bake done, turn that off so when you make changes you can you don't auto update if you don't need to, which in this case if you have a final light bake you wouldn't want to do that, so you need to make sure to turn off auto. So let's go ahead and take a look at this again. With these lights selected, if I click on the light option, you'll notice that all the lights turn off. If we look at them in the inspector, if we look at each of these individual lights, if you look right here, you'll notice that each light is unchecked. So it's off. It's no longer being included in the scene. It's no longer being calculated. We'll go back here. But you'll notice that the skybox changes because the skybox is dependent upon directional light that is associated with it by default. That changes. But you can tell that that change isn't having any effect on your scene, because you're now drawing upon light map baking information rather than real-time calculation. You could even take these lights and you could delete them. I'm going to push the delete key. Now they're gone completely. There are no lights in the scene to calculate even if we wanted to. All that lighting information is still there. So I'm sure you already know this, but I wanted to demonstrate that fact to you. When you have your lights set to bake, let me bring them back. Let's look at this directional light. When your baking type is set to baked, it's no longer calculated in the scene. It no longer adds any performance hits. So if you have a lot of lights, if you've got complicated lighting in your game, and you want to remove that performance hit, setting it to baked is the way you want it to go. When you build the final game, the light won't be included. It'll just have that baked information. Now, mentioning that, I wanted to show you mixed real quick. If we look at this and we set this to mixed, mixed is a little unique because what it does is it actually bakes out lighting information, but at the same time it also gives you real-time lighting. So let me build this again. Auto's still turned off. I'm just going to build it manually. Let that build out. Of course I turned off all my lights. Let me turn those back on. Build again. Okay, so these two lights here are set to baked, and then this one back here is set to mixed. If I turn this one off, you'll notice that nothing changes, right? That's because it's included baking information in your baked map. The physical image that's representing lighting, it's included its information in that map. However, if I take, say, this cube and we remove its light map static property and build that again, you'll notice that it looks a little funny because it's not included in that bake, but it's still being influenced by light. So if I move it over here, watch it over here, you'll see that, see how it gets darker as it moves away from that particular light, and then gets brighter, and then the backside becomes lit, and then it moves into shadow. So it's still being influenced by real-time lights, even though that light is also contributing to the bake map. So that's pretty cool. It allows you to have a little bit of a better integration between your non-static and your static objects. Just be aware though that from what I can tell, and I've looked, you'll notice that this box no longer calculates any kind of real-time shadows on the ground. So be aware of that fact if you're going to use mixed lighting. But just to answer your question, sorry this went on a little long, no. When you set your lights to baked, they're no longer calculated in the scene. You no longer have that overhead. It's as if they're not there. But you don't need to delete them, because if you need to make a change, you want to have them in your scene. You want to be able to rebake with those lights if you need to. So don't delete them. But just know that when they're set to baked, they won't be calculated in your scene. They won't be included in your final build. Your game will just be drawing upon the light maps that you've baked out previously. I hope this helped. I hope this answered your question. And if you have any more questions or you need better clarification, just let me know. Thanks.